In this Path of Exile build guide, I'm going to show you the Mercenary class that I've been using to blast through maps. Absolutely loving this build. Not only that, we're going to break down the pros and cons of running this specific Path of Exiles 2 build. First of all, we'll start with the gear, the skills, and everything like that. So let's jump into the skills real quick with this one, because there's a play style with this build that's a little bit different to what most people are playing with the Mercenary class. So we'll cover the skills in a specific order. I'm using the mortar cannon paired with the oil grenade. You can use oil grenade or you can use gas grenade. Sorry, here it is. You can use oil or gas. However, the oil grenade gives a debuff to the enemy, making them a tiny bit weaker, which is why I use it. We are also using the urgent totems, which places down the mortars quicker. Also using the cluster grenades inside the mortar, and I'm using the cooldown rate support gem. Now, this is going to be the main, basically, spam key that you're going to be using throughout your run to clear maps. This is a mob clearer. The next thing that I use for DPS and for bosses is this grenade. We just basically have multi-shot. We have some less detonation time. This one here is very good, so supports any skill that hits enemies, making those hits ignore any enemy fire resistance. This is quite good, and I've been running the test in Path of Building software. This actually gives a better damage increase than elemental damage, than the elemental damage gem. So we basically ignore all enemy fire resistance. Well, we do ignore it. This one here is 40% less cooldown rate. And then we are also running armor piercing rounds. And the reason why is because it breaks armor. It helps with fighting a little bit harder enemies and with bosses. These are the gems that I'm using on this. This one is really good. It gives you a damage buff where you build up 20% damage on the enemies. So these are the skills that I'm using, and these are the other ones here. Herald of Ash, and then Time of Need. Time of Need is quite important for this build. We also get mana regen here, and then we get some maximum life regen as well. So those are the gems. Let's jump into the passive tree real quick. So I haven't unlocked any more of these points. I just really haven't been bothered, to be honest. But what we're running here is we're running the pin build up. So what happens is when our projectiles damage, we build up pin, and we pin the enemies to the ground. Essentially, it's kind of like a stun, right? So that's what I'm using right here. Obviously, there's other ones we can do, but I'm not going to talk about those because I haven't unlocked them just yet. So there's a few kind of things that are important for this build. And one of those things is attack speed. Attack speed is quite important for this build for a few reasons, so I will show you why. We want to boost our attack speed on armor-piercing rounds. It also contributes to these. So it fires the explosive grenade much quicker the more attack speed you have. So I'll just kind of explain to you what I've done here. I've basically gone a lot of projectile damage because our skills scale off projectile damage. I've gone for a little bit of defenses here, a little bit of defenses here, and then some attack speed here. I've gone to this node and done more attack speed. Gone down here and we've done more projectile damage. I'll leave a build planner below if you want to just check this out. I've gone strengthened some nodes, and then this is a massive damage booster as well, this section here. We go over to here, and then what I've done is I have two separate weapons. What that means is I have weapon 1 and weapon 2. You'll see right here. If I go to my skills, you can allocate a weapon to a specific skill. So for my armor piercing rounds, I can go weapon 1. So weapon 1 is connected to my armor piercing rounds. Weapon 2 is connected to my mortar grenades, my explosive grenades. The reason why is because they provide two different things, two different types of bows, but more importantly, you kind of get extra points in the passive tree because you can go weapon 1 or weapon 2 and allocate points, more points to each one. So let me show you an example here. We go along, I've got some dexterity nodes here. I probably, to be honest, change these to strength for this build because my accuracy is already quite high. But anyway, we go to here, and what I've done is on weapon 2, which is just my mortar, and my explosive grenade, I've gone increased totem damage, damage as well, and then life, some resistances, physical damage, and totem life. The reason why I've done it this way is because there's no point in me putting these skills on my weapon 1 because I'm using armor piercing rounds for weapon 1, if that makes sense. So that's what I've done there. We go down here, and this is weapon 2 as well. Obviously, we're just doing grenade stuff because weapon 1 is allocated to armor piercing rounds. We go down here, we just have some movement speed. We go down here, weapon 1, which is the armor piercing rounds, I've added reload speed to that. So essentially I can just blast it off. We go to here, weapon set 2, we have grenades for weapon set 2. Here for weapon set 2, we also have ballista damage that I'm starting to build out here. We go down, this is the gem, this is kind of OP. 12% increased totem damage, 70% increased totem placement speed. The placement speed is irrelevant because we're using the skill, the other skill where we place down totems for 100% placement speed. But this is the only gem I could get with the for a good price, so I just had that on there. But I wanted the totem damage. We go down here. We're going to go to the left, and in here I've just done. So I could have essentially done this weapon too, but I ran out of points. So this is just ballista damage. So this just multiplies damage, counts towards damage to our mortar. We go along here. We have projectile speed and physical damage. All of those skills are projectile skills and physical damage as well. So they scale off this. This increases the damage of those skills. We go down here. We have grenade damage, and then we some more grenade damage. I just wanted to mention, actually, this is important. We get 50% less detonation time on grenades, but we get an additional projectile. You need that. We go down here. This is just basically attack speed again on weapon 1 this time. This is just on weapon 1. We could change this around and put this on the grenades as well, but I don't need that. It's fine. It's working fine. We go down here, we have grenade damage, and then we just have things like crossbow damage and reload speed for that armor piercing rounds. So what I'll do is I'll just go into here and I'll kind of show you, we'll go into the gear in a second, but I'll show you how this works. So we can place down 3 of these at once, and they're going to spam stuff everywhere. We can do our explosive grenades, and you'll see that it shoots 5 projectiles. And this is a damage booster. And then we have this one here, which is just insane. I can hold it down. I'm constantly shooting. Reload is very, very quick. We're building up that armor break on enemies. The damage could be higher, but it's still good. And a lot of people will pair explosive ammo, I think the explosive shot, with this build, which works very, very well because there's synergies there. But I just like to use the armor piercing rounds because I just like to have like a machine gun style build. That's just personal preference. But you can build this out with explosive ammo. So basically, when you're running through the map, you're just going to be going like this, spam those down, let them shoot off for a bit, do another set. You know, you get a pack of enemies, you just want to spam some of these in there maybe. You get a hard enemy, you put your things down, you spam some of these, and then you just smash them with the machine gun essentially. So that's how that works. Now let's go over the rest of the stuff here. Let's go over the gear, which is quite important. So I'm going to talk about how I run this to make currency and stuff like that in a second, when we go to the pros and cons. So this is weapon 1. I'm not going to go over every single detail here, but what's important is you need the grenade skills that fire additional projectiles. You want to scale damage, in this case fire damage. You want to have increased physical damage, etc., more fire damage. Accuracy rating, probably not necessarily needed on this, but it's there anyway. Then we have attack speed and the strength. Weapon 2, projectile again, scaling damage. It's just accuracy. Now, one thing I do like about this is that it adds 59 life per enemy killed and mana per enemy killed. This is actually working very well for this build because essentially we're going to be killing tons of enemies and we get life and mana from doing that. This is the headpiece that we have. Just so you know, I'm stacking armor, Actually, it's very low. It was 80% before. So I'm stacking armor and I'm starting to do my resistances. So you want to have your resistances, you get those up as to 75, and then armor, etc. I'm now going to be working on energy shield and stuff, but that's why I'm doing this video, because this build is now bricked. It's hit the ceiling, right? I can't really go much further with this. I'm going to now start changing it. So these are the stats for the helmet, life, a little bit of mana, etc., critical chance, and some resistances. This is the amulet. You can just pause the screen, have a look, but you can see that I'm going for mana, maximum life, dexterity, strength, etc., like that, things like that. We have again, increased armor. We have maximum life, fire resistance. What I don't need on this is the life regeneration, not needed, but we have it. My apologies, my phone's going off. This is the ring that I'm doing. This is the other ring that I'm doing. So it's basically just like some resistances, some attributes, and mainly damage. Like I want to just scale damage as much as I can. These are the gloves. Now attack speed is important. Increased armor, and once again, scaling damage again. So this is why this build's a little bit squishy, because I'm putting quite a lot of stuff into this. Is the belt, life, armor, things like that. These are the boots, increased armor, life, dexterity. Now 40% of armor also applies to elemental damage. This is a huge damage buff, and this works really, really well. We have that on there, and these charms, I don't really care about charms too much. So that's the gear, okay? And that's the build. So what are the pros and cons of this? Let's get into that. So of course, this all depends on map modifiers, right? If your maps are harder, your build's going to struggle. You know, the more HP your enemies have, the more damage they do to you, the more critical chance they have, you're going to struggle. So let's start with the pros here. One of the pros, well, there's a few pros, but great for making currency T7. And what I mean by that is, in T7 maps, T7, that's when you start to drop 40% elemental resistant rings and amulets and stuff. So everyone thinks you need to go to tier 15 and all that to get the best drops. There's actually proof that tier 7 drops basically the same stuff as those tier 15 maps, just with lower level, but the stats are very similar or the same. So you can easily farm tier 7 with this build, and that's what I've been doing. That's what it's great for. That's what I built it for, essentially. And what I mean, and so the reason you do tier 7 is because you go to tier 8, tier 9, tier 10, tier 11, or up to tier 11, the drops are the same. So you're going to clear tier 7s faster because the maps are weaker, right? So this has great clearing potential, pretty much a one-button job if you want to. You can just use the mortars. Great on boss kills. However, it's not a one-shot boss build. Like, this isn't some meta one-shot boss build where you go in there, you click a few buttons, you kill the boss in 2 seconds. But I can kill most bosses in like 5 to 10 seconds, usually, right? Depending on the modifiers. It depends on the modifiers. We can build cheap. So I spent no divines on this. I built it pretty cheap. I didn't really spend much at all. And you can build it with dropped and or rolled gear. So I built what I bought was the bows and a couple of things, but I rolled most of the armor myself. It's still pretty much a mess that up here. Still pretty much still much more damage to get out of this. So this build's hit the ceiling for me. There's so much more damage I can get, and that's the thing. Like, this can scale quite further. We have a slight mana issue. However, it's not noticeable. So there's a slight mana issue. It might get worse over time, but it's not bad. I just use the pots. So, and I do have some mana modifiers on the gear. So, okay, so that's supposed to say sometimes, my bad. Sometimes you will get one-tapped if you get stuck on things or you get knocked down. This is common. I mean, it's not common all the time, but it does happen with this build. So that's a con. However, I've just put this in brackets down here. It's normal to die. Even the best builds die. So what a lot of people think when they read builds is they go, oh, well, you know, it's got to be the best build. It's got to be, I can't get killed. I've got to do heaps of damage, etc. That's just not realistic in this game and in a lot of games. People get one tapped, they die. It's just how it works. No matter what the build is, it can happen. It does need some defensive work to move to higher tiers. So I have run this in higher tiers, but it definitely needs some defensive work, which I'm going to be working on. This is a big one for a lot of people. It's an FPS killer. However, it's not really a deal breaker for a lot of people because you can swap oil grenade. Gee, man, that's that spell check, I guess. You can swap gas grenades, and it pretty much fixes that problem. The only thing is with oil grenade, I like the fact that I get the debuff, which lowers the elemental resistances on the enemy. The gas grenade basically is, does damage, etc. So you can replace that. It's fine. And that's essentially the build. That's what I'm using. I'll leave it in the description below. Make sure you subscribe, smash that like button, and I'll see you guys in the next video.
So be it. First one, chicken.
Not only that,